Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Atacama in Chile, which is very hard to show you on the map because Chile is a very long country, and not to mention my light is at an angle that's shining right on this region, which I kind of have to shield it so that you can actually see the borders here. But that's very appropriate because the Atacama region is named after the Atacama Desert, which is the world's driest desert. It's not the hottest desert, but it is the desert that receives the lowest amount of precipitation in the world. In some years it receives zero precipitation. Precipitation meaning rain, snow, frost, any kind of wetness from the sky. It's a very, very dry area. But that doesn't mean it's just a bunch of nothing. There is a lot to see here. First of all, you can see the Pacific Ocean coastline, which I'm pretty sure every region of Chile has. And it is bordered by the Andes Mountains. And it has some very, very interesting mountains. Particularly this one right here. You can see it's a Cerro Ojos del Salado. This is the highest peak in Chile, and it is also the world's tallest volcano. Isn't that cool? Now you know. You have that little fact to store away in your mind. In which country can you find the world's tallest volcano? It is in Chile, right here. These mountains are, of course, very high, and lots of volcanoes located here. Lots of salt flats as well, particularly up here. And here in this national park, Nevado Tres Cruces. There's also a gorgeous national park down here, the Llanos del Challe. And let me see, what else? That's about it for geography, to be honest. It's very fascinating. We'll take a look on Google Earth and show you all the sites. But it's when you're describing it, you've got coastline, desert, mountains, and that's about it. Gorgeous mountains, though. Very fascinating desert. Now, it was very hard to research the history of this region because the Atacama Desert stretches much farther to the north up there in Chile, and there's lots of interesting locations in the desert in the more northern areas. So when you search Atacama region on the internet, you just get Atacama Desert and you get all the information about regions we've already covered, to be honest, here in the desert. Not so much about this region here. So I found what I could. There are many indigenous peoples that lived in this area. There were the Atacameño, which the desert's named after. There was also the Diaguita cultures that lived near the center. And the Chongos, which I believe lived more along the coast. But they were all eventually dominated by the Inca. Sorry if you heard my tummy. Eventually dominated by the Inca as they expanded from the north further down the Andes here. And there's actually a UNESCO site associated with the Inca here. It was also in other parts of Chile. I think I overlooked it because it covers pretty much most of Peru down to Chile and even up into Ecuador. And it's the Andean Road system. However, I'm at a weird angle and I'm not about to adjust it to show you the tablet and then adjust it back. So I'll show you before we go to Google Earth. But the Inca built a very, very elaborate road system through the Andes Mountains. They had little rest stops, very efficient. It was pretty much a highway before there were cars, right? And it got news and information up and down the empire very, very efficiently. There was at least one event that we know of for sure that happened here in the ancient times. It would have been on August 31st, 1420. And that was an earthquake that had a magnitude of somewhere between 8.8 and 9.4. Very, very powerful, even for Chile. Chile is incredibly seismically active, hence the volcanoes, right? And Chile's actually had the most powerful earthquake in recorded history. This one we don't actually have, technically recorded. And that's because the Inca did not have a writing system. They used something called quipu, which was a series of knots tied into fabric that told something. We can't really decipher it. But mainly I'm pretty sure it was just for trade, like it wasn't to document history. So we don't have the Incas' story of the earthquake. We know that this earthquake happened here because it was felt in Japan. It caused tsunamis in Japan. And it's been calculated that the epicenter was along the coast here. How interesting is that? We know because Japan was like, why is the sea receding? We didn't even feel anything. Why are there waves crashing against us? We had no earthquake at all. Where did this come from? It came from all the way over here. It was that strong. How incredible is that? Of course, the Spanish would come through and defeat the Inca Empire and take over their realm. They weren't terribly interested in this part of Chile and didn't do much here. And once Chile became independent, this was its northernmost region. This is where Chile ended. Up here, I believe, was Peru still. Yeah, this was Peru. And that would change after the War of the Pacific, which was fought from 1879 to 1883. Thusly named because it was mostly over Bolivia's access to the Pacific. And Peru and Bolivia ganged up against Chile, and Chile whooped them and took a bunch of their land and cut off Bolivia's access to the sea. There are many other layers to it. That's just a nutshell of the War of the Pacific. It was a doozy, though. So there's much more northerly territories to Chile after that. This was no longer the northernmost border of the country. But things started to pick up here in the desert area when mining became big business. It was mainly silver and copper and some gold as well. Became a major industry in this area, still kind of sort of is today. Most infamously here in Copiapó, which is the capital city. From August to October 2010, 33 miners were trapped inside one of those mines. I believe it was a copper mine, but it could have been silver. This is mainly silver copper. There's a lot of copper up north, but I believe it was a copper mine, I want to say. And the world turned its eyes upon Chile in the hopes of rescuing these 33 men trapped deep, deep underground, like hundreds of feet underground. And miraculously, they were all rescued, every single one. They were trapped for 69 days in the dark underground. I don't think I can handle it. But they were all rescued. That's incredible, right? I remember when that happened. I thought, oh, those guys are goners by like day 40, day 50. Like, there's no way. But they all survived. They were all rescued. There's some interesting stories about like the wives would show up to wait outside and their mistresses would show up, and then they would find out about each other there, hoping that their partners would be rescued. And that, I'm sure, opened up a whole other can of worms, right? That mine closed, of course, after it had collapsed and trapped those men inside. Now, the main resource here in Atacama is farming, mainly in citrus fruits. But they're also investing in solar power. And Chile is building some huge solar power, I guess, generator factories out in the desert. Because, like I said, the Atacama sometimes doesn't get any rain at all for an entire year, not even like cloud cover. So, perfect place for a solar farm in the hopes that that could maybe power the country someday. How interesting would that be? So that is pretty much all that I could find on this region. I really tried, but again, when you search Atacama, you get Atacama Desert, not Atacama Region. Even when you type in Atacama Region, Atacama Desert pops up. It's very infuriating. So that's all that I found. Let me know, any Chilean viewers out there, if I missed something important. But we're going to switch over to the tablet and read about a UNESCO site and look at these beautiful mountains on Google Earth. So here's the UNESCO site. It's, I believe, Capacñan, the Andean road system. As you can see, this stretches from Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. It's probably been in a couple places I've already covered, but I don't know, I've just skipped over this one always. Probably because I never found any, examples. But let's do it now. Why not? It says this site is an extensive Inca communication, trade, and defense network of roads covering 30,000 kilometers. Constructed by the Incas over several centuries and partly based on pre-Inca infrastructure, this extraordinary network, through one of the world's most extreme geographical terrains, links the snow-capped peaks of the Andes at an altitude of more than 6,000 meters to the coast, running through hot rainforests, fertile valleys, and absolute deserts. It reached its maximum expansion in the 15th century, when it spread across the length and breadth of the Andes. The Capacñan Andean road system includes 273 component sites spread over more than 6,000 kilometers that were selected to highlight the social, political, architectural, and engineering achievements of the network, along with its associated infrastructure for trade, accommodation, and storage, as well as sites of religious significance. There's a couple pictures here, no guarantees that they are in, Atacama or even Chile. But, see some there, riding alone. Little way station here. You can see some of the road here. At some point it was, paved in the best way that they could pave a road, There's one right there. Very fascinating, isn't it? That they had created an entire highway all along the Andes Mountains. But yeah, that's a cool path there. It's here, winding the way up the hill. Very, very neat. But let's head over to Google Earth. Here's the Atacama region. I'm going to zoom out so you can see exactly where we are in the world. If you're not quite sure where Chile even is, it is in South America. Here's South America. You can see Central America, Mexico up there. The Caribbean's right here. Here's Chile. There's Atacama. And you can see the Andes Mountains here. They stretch all the way this way. So that road connects all of this land. This is the world's longest mountain chain. Very fascinating, isn't it? So you can see we're right in this incredible little spine of mountains that separates Chile from Argentina in this case. And you can see from above all the various salt flats. Lots of them up here, huh? Look at that. Very cool. Just pure salt. And some really beautiful, pristine, I assume salty lakes up here. Because these were once lakes that all dried up. We have, let's start, let's just get it over with and look at Ojos del Salado, which you can see right here. It doesn't look like much from above, but the pictures of it are incredible. It looks like Mount Fuji on steroids. It is an intense mountain. It looks like the caldera up there. Crystal clear water, perfectly reflected. Tired after a long climb. Big rocks there. You can see the ropes they're using to get up. Little camp as they climb to the summit. Their little, I don't know what that's measuring. Maybe something, maybe the temperature of the ice or something. That looks like some salt. That looks like snow. The big, beautiful peaks of the Andes. Look how gorgeous. That is a monster of a mountain, and to believe that's a volcano, right? The gorgeous stars. The Atacama Desert has the clearest sky in the world. Because, you know, there's no clouds, right? Most of the time, anyway. But yeah, it reminds me, you know, we have some big volcanoes in, I live literally just outside the Sierra Nevada mountains. It's literally outside my windows, the Sierra Nevadas, and there are some huge volcanoes in there, like Mount Shasta. It goes up to Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, but this one is like, it dwarfs them. It's crazy. When you look out, you can see other little volcanic peaks poking out of the mountains. I think further south we can see a bunch. Like right there, like little pimples just sticking out. Little volcanoes. We have, oh, I meant to look at the national park up here. The Vado Tres Cruces. So you can see some more of this beautiful Atacama landscape. It's a selfie area there. Just a photo area. Some amazing gushing water there coming out of that river. Another photo spot amongst the Andes. A beautiful sunset. Oh, I bet the sunsets here are just unreal. Taking your bike out to big snowy areas, maybe some glaciated areas. This area does have flamingos, a big flamingo migration. And there's a little, looks like some kind of bird of prey. I'm not sure what. A sweet coyote. And something that once was something. Looks like a cow. Part of my tummy. Some horses there enjoying some nice water. Flamingos there. It's just a very beautiful little place, isn't it? Look at this rock. Oh my gosh, my tummy is... It only does this when I film, I promise. It looks like my tummy knows when I'm filming. But this rock, it looks like it's been windswept, or maybe, you know, have some water rushing against it for a long time. It's just an unusual shape. I wonder what caused the rock to do that. And some rare green as well. We have our other big national park down here, but we're gonna look at this one because this one popped up first. The Huascotinos. Look at this lake, my goodness, so pretty. The desert. Oh my gosh, on the top of the world there of the Andes. And a little babbling brook. Of course, desert doesn't necessarily mean, you know, sand and sand dunes. Ooh, some beautiful rock art there. There's a fossil of a shell. This one's covered in water. Desert just means precipitation level, right? It doesn't necessarily mean sand and hot and sun. He's brought his little friend to the top of the mountain. It just means that it has very low precipitation, even with all this snow. Just because it's up high doesn't mean that it's, you know, snowing constantly. It's just that high up and that cold. Pretty fascinating. We look along the coast here. Let me see. Huasco. That's what I'm looking for, but Huasco popped up first. Huasco. I believe I looked here, nothing too fascinating to see, but I always encourage you to explore these cities. Was established by the Spanish as their big port in this area. Here is Llanos de Chile. Some beautiful succulents and the gorgeous coastline. And I didn't find a lot in the cities to look at. There's some, looks like some old ruins of some kind. They're beautiful. But like the nature is just out of this world in Chile. Chile is an absolutely stunning country in terms of landscapes, flora, and fauna. Wow, it's a big llama. But yeah, I very much enjoy looking at Chilean landscapes. How gorgeous. Probably going to end it here, to be honest. There are lots of other little mountains to look at. Why don't we pick one to end the video on? Let's see. Let's find a mountain peak. Any mountain peaks over here? Look at this incredible coloring too. It's like red gold. If you go up north, it changes colors. I promise it does. Let's look at this. It looks like a little valley tone. Any pictures? No, that's too bad. I bet it's really neat there. Nope. LaGuardia? Nope. Look at these beautiful reds. Big old salt flat there. Hopefully we're still in Chile. But it slowly turns into this kind of like brownish, blackish color from the beautiful red. Do you have a... Nope. Okay. I swear I saw some more, but I don't see any. I feel like I saw some in the salt flats when I was exploring. Any salty points here that I can look at? Ha ha ha. Celar de Pedernales has no pictures. Come on, I want one more. Give me one more. Oh, Salinas. This is what I was looking at. I was looking at Salinas. And this picture of the salt flats. Let's end it here. Thank you so much for watching. Look at that crunchy salt. If you enjoy this style of content, please consider subscribing. The next video out tomorrow is going to be just a tablet video because the map on Google Earth I think is better than the map in my atlas, so we'll just look at that. But we're going to be heading over to Benin, and we're going to see one of the most famous national parks in West Africa. And we are going to look at a UNESCO site with some of the most unusual houses in West Africa. You gotta see it to believe it. So be sure to subscribe so you won't miss out. Wow, look at that panorama. Look at that salt, it's like snow, isn't it? I hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational, and I hope that you have a good night. Good night. Good night. Good night.